Sit. Happy Monday, everyone. I'm hoping you're out there being safe. I want to show you today a very cool behavior called place. Now, you notice I also wrote stay up here, so I'll talk about that in a second. What's the difference in the two? But imagine if you have company over. Ding dong, the phone rings. Captain, place. And now you can leave your dog there while you go over here and have a seat and entertain your company. I mean, you can go to the door with your dog, but before you open it, if you have a dog that's a little reactive to guests, or you simply are working on jumping, no jumping, working on the command off, but you haven't quite finished it. This is a really great behavior to even teach first. You can tell your dog to go to his place, and the dog will remain there for up to several hours. It's really a cool behavior, really beneficial. I can't imagine owning a dog that cannot do place. All right, so I'm sure you want to learn how to. Today is part one. It's going to take me 2 days to get through this behavior, but today is part one, so here we go. First of all, place and stay. When we train this, what is the difference between place and stay? Think of stay. Use the little S here under stay. Think of it as short distance, so you don't go very far away from your dog, and a very short duration, typically in comparison to place, which has a physical reminder. Physical reminder. And why is that important? Because dogs are naturally energy conservation animals. They don't have the ability to surf the internet like you, to watch a video like this, to read a book, in other words, entertain themselves. So if you put them in a stay, like a down stay for example, and walk away, if you're gone for really any length of time, the vast majority of dogs will finally fall asleep. Now, will they wake up and go, hey, was I in a stay? No. They're going to wake up and go, I'm hungry. There's something over there in that bowl. Or they're just wander off. However, because place requires the animal to lie on a mat, on a bed, on a cot, they will, if that is associated with the behavior remaining in that spot, now when they wake up, they'll go, oh, dang, I'm still on the cot. And that's an immediate reminder of what they're supposed to be doing. They're still under the power of the signal place. All right, now when we train it here, we actually train both of these behaviors at the same time. We use a place command, and then we leave the dog, we say stay. Why? It's called working smarter, not harder. We're actually building two behaviors, like building two houses, one right inside the house that you're building. Two houses at the exact same time. And it'll make more sense to you once we work through both of these videos today. Now, before we proceed on, I want to talk to you about equipment. Equipment. First of all, you will need to have either a cot or a mat or a bed, whatever it is that you wish for your dog to lie on when you give it the command place. Now, one thing you should not use over the next, ever honestly, is the dog's already established bed. Now, you think about how many times has your dog been able to get on that bed and get off that bed, no consequence involved, no meaning whatsoever associated with remain on the bed. So therefore, don't use your dog's bed. Come up with something, a mat, a cot, a different bed, and that object is only used for place. Now note, there will come a time in which you'll be able to leave that cot or that mat in a particular location in your home and have the dog go to it, and it is you saying the word place that dictates whether the dog can leave it or not. But that day is not today, and that day is not for about another 2 weeks. Now, people ask us all the time, Bryan, so do you have a preference? Mat, bed, cot? I am going to tell you every day, I would much rather you start off with something that is raised above the ground. And here's why. Dogs are horizontal gazing creatures. The game is not right underneath their feet. It's over there or way over there. They're naturally gazers across the distance, horizontally. They don't look straight down here at their feet. Even when they're tracking, they're really not looking, they're smelling. So because of that, if you tell your dog to stay or do place on a mat, If you ever have what's called a noise to signal override, meaning the noise is greater than the signal ratio, a big distraction, a lot of the animals will go, hey, what the heck is that? And they'll just start moving and not even be aware of the fact that they moved. They'll just start going. You're the same way. If you told me to stay right here, and I'm going, okay, hey, what the heck was that? What just happened out there? And all of a sudden I start going. That's because all my brain power and my focus is on what happened out there, not what I just did. However, if you ask me to stand on this box, that's a whole different story. Now, no matter how distracted I become, no matter what is happening out there, if I want to go check that out, then the first thing I must do is safely negotiate getting down off of this stool. So the same thing happens to your dog. I have Captain lying here on a cot. If he leaves that cot, he will be very conscious of the physical action it takes to hop down from that cot. That's why we like them the most, because of that. It really helps them to learn it. Okay, so that's your equipment. Next thing, we have to think about the theory behind it. Place is nothing more than you put your dog on its cot, mat, what have you. We say the word place before we put the dog on. So let me back up a little bit. Step one, say the word place when you're about 2 or 3 feet away from the intended surface that your dog will be staying. Say place, put the dog on that surface. If it's a cot and it gives away a little bit because of the material, be patient. Dogs are smart. They're not going to fully commit to getting on anything that they feel may give way underneath them. They may think it's a trap door. They're smart animals. So lure them up there with treats if you can, or just finally pull them up on it. Then they'll learn through their own self-discovery. It won't give way. In fact, it's pretty darn comfortable. Now, once you put them on there and you say place and they're on there, then we say stay, auditory signal, stay. Visual signal, open palm, and walk away. Makes sense. If you're walking towards me and I do this, you're probably going to stop. Stay, just like our wait, just like our stop command that we showed in a previous video. Stay, and then leave your dog. And once you leave your dog and you're out here, the other important thing to consider is if they get off. And they're going to do that. Meaning, let me move some of my equipment here. And I'll talk about the long line. That's a piece of equipment that's going to be vital as well. Make sure I get my leg back on here. When you first train this, after about 5 times, do not expect your dog to remain on this cot right off the bat. They're going to hop on, because you said this weird sound called place. And if they've never heard it before, you might as well say scuba-nog. They don't have a clue. But they get on this, and then they're going to turn right around, usually within seconds the first couple times, and hop right off. As soon as they do that, you're going to say no, booey, whatever, and put the dog back on. Now, after about 5 of those, I guarantee you if your dog could talk, it would ask you a question. Your dog would ask, so what's up with the cot? In other words, am I supposed to stay on this? Absolutely. Absolutely. And by doing that, you start to draw significance to what this thing is. Hence why it's so important that when you're not training place, you put it up. You lean it up against a wall, you put it in a closet, because there is a sequence in which you are told to get on, and in tomorrow's video, I'll show you how to get them off. But you will draw significance. There's another way you will draw significance to your cot or mat. By moving it. When you train place, make sure you move your mat or cot around the house. Inside the house, outside the house. Kitchen, dining room, doesn't matter. Take it to a friend's house. Take it out into a park. In other words, what I want the dog to learn very quickly is, it's not where you are that matters that much, dog. It's what you're on. You're on your place mechanism, your place cot. Now, when your dog leaves this cot, keep this little slogan in your head. Mark it and park it. So okay? Mark it and park it. Write that on a Post-it note like you've done before. Stick it up on the mirror where you brush your teeth. And remember, mark it and park it. Why mark it? Again, mark it is a term used to denote a critical time sequence. Hence why at a track and field event, you'll hear the gentleman say, on my mark, meaning he's warning them, get ready, get set, go. And go is the mark. Go lets them leave. So mark in this case is when your dog hops off the cot, you need to mark that behavior. And if you remember from previous videos, you need to do that in less than 2 seconds. In less than 2 seconds. Otherwise, you're too late. And now, in other words, if I tell Captain, stay, I walk away, I'm over here messing with something on my wall, or I'm working in another room, and I turn around and Captain is right here. If I go, no, bad dog. If I mark it then, there's no telling what Captain will associate that mark with. And on my worst case scenario, he could associate it with come when called. In other words, in his mind, he came to me, and I just got on his case for that. So now when I start working on come when called, he's a smart animal. And I say, come. He's going to go, bad chance, buddy. Last couple times I did that, I got in trouble. So if you don't catch it, don't mark it. Let it go. In other words, if I turn around and Captain's right here, I missed it. I'm just going to go, dang, what a handsome dog you are, and stupid of me for not paying attention. Learn from it. As long as you catch more than you miss, you're going to move forward on this behavior, because this is one of the simplest things to ever teach an animal to do. Park it is this. The dog hops off, you yell no, you marked it, you caught it good, under 2 seconds. Now, that's the only critical time sequence. You do not have to put the dog back on the cot or mat within 2 seconds. You just have to go park them back on there. So in other words, for this reason, if the dog hopped off and I yelled no, and the dog stopped right where it was, great, you're not over here where I'm at yet. So again, next thing you know, the dog moves again, I yell no again, dog moves third time, I yell no, and guess what? The dog goes, sweet, I got yelled at 3 times, but I made it. No way, buddy, no way. You hop off, I yell no, you don't return back to the cot, and don't expect them to do that during your first couple of lessons, maybe lesson 3 or 4, they'll be ready to do that. You need to return back, take hold of your dog, and take it right back to the cot. And that's the park it part of it. It's not a command. Simply mark it, no, bad dog, wrong. And then go to the dog and take it back to the cot. Now, this is important. For about your first week of training, and when I say a week, I'm thinking you're going to train this at least once per day. Every time you return your dog back to that cot, give it a small reward. Well done. Because what I need is I need your dog to fall in love with that cot. I tell them all the time, I joke with Captain, I go, this is your mobile home. Own it, baby, it's yours. He loves his cot. The cot itself was never associated with any sort of correction or punishment. Getting on the cot is good every single time I asked you to get on the cot, whether you made a mistake or not. Getting back on that cot is good. Getting off my cot is bad. All right, so you follow me on that? Good. Okay, now, back to my equipment just to back up here real quick because I forgot my long line. So let me show it to you here. I think a long line is absolutely crucial for training place because using the long line allows us to get a distance away from the dog. Again, as soon as I don't make it into a little ball here and I have to untangle it, you guys got to sit there and watch me do this darn thing. It was good to go, but I don't know what I did to it. But that's me. That's why my nickname was Spider-Man in the military, because the old saying was, if you don't know a knot, tie a lot, or if you don't know anything, just make a big ball of yarn. So here we go, long line. Long lines are great, so I'm going to attach this to Captain. Okay, here's the problem that most people make out of long lines. They let the line control them, they don't control the line. So how does that happen? Number one, they become neat freaks. They roll this thing up in their hand constantly, all the time. all the time rolling it up. Well, tell you what, it's made out of cloth. You can wash it. Get it out of your hands. Here's a second mistake people make. They pay it out, meaning they're leaving the dog and they're doing this. Well, if Captain hops off, there's nothing I can do. I can't give him any sort of haptic signal. I can't physically correct him because if he hops off, I'd like to give him a little doink here. Not hard, you always start off easy and then let it intensify as required. The dog will teach you that. You don't have to decide that right off the bat. Okay? So the best way to work a long line is this. Once you have it attached to your dog, stay. As you leave, let it pay out of your hand like a tape measure. Just like I'm doing here, because now if he moves, I can immediately do something. I can send a little haptic signal back to him. And if you remember, dogs learn with their eyes first, touch second. So I can do this. I have that ability. Now, once I get to where I'm going, I can let it rest on the ground. You shouldn't hold it in the air because the dog feels that, and you're constantly reminding the dog of what it's supposed to be doing. Now, we'll go more into that tomorrow. But for right now, get to where you're going, lower the leash to the ground, and keep that distance there as long as you're remaining where you are. If you should go in or go out, adjust your leash. So now let's talk about going in. Here's how you use the leash to go in. Simply pull it over your hand. Let it drape to the ground. I always have the right amount of leash. And then when you're even out here too, we do a thing here called setting the behavior. So notice I'm kind of pulling on Captain. By doing that, I'm evoking opposition reflex. And as soon as I pull, I can feel him actually pull back. So it's kind of like I'm setting them deeper onto that cot. Again, that's not in the form of a correction. Just a little pull, just a little tug, and he fights for that position a whole lot more. All right, so that's your long lines. The only thing I want you to watch for, if it's on the ground, if somehow or another it makes some big old loop and you're stepping in it. All right, now for whatever reason your dog is frightened by something and bolts off this cot, well, you're in it. So just be conscious of where the line is at all times. Make sure you never step into the bite of the line. All right, quick review. Then tomorrow we're going to go into the 3 Ds. What do you do once you place the dog on there? Distance, duration, distraction. And then we're going to cover what's called the complex signal. Wow, is this important? This is what builds that absolute rock-solid performance in the dog. Not so much how you get on. It's how you get off. Wow, you got to have this. So make sure you tune in tomorrow because you only got half a place. Okay, so today in review, place. What is place? This is where we use a physical reminder for the dog to remain exactly where you are. That works in all conditions. They can fall asleep, it doesn't matter. When they get up on that cot, I don't care what a dog does. They can stand up, they can turn around, they can lie down, they can go to sleep. The only thing I don't allow dogs to do while they're in place is bark. I've got company over. I don't want to be listening to you barking the whole time. Stay has nothing. It's just the ground. We'll talk about that more tomorrow as well. Stay is short endurance, short distance for most dogs in comparison to place. Now, you may have trained your dog to stay for an hour or so, but I'm telling you what, I can teach a dog to do place for even longer. All right, the equipment. You'll need a mat, a cot, long line. Make sure that the platform you use is only used for place for right now. I'll give you permission a couple of weeks from now to do something else with it, but only for now. Use it only for when you're training place. Mark it and park it. If your dog hops off the cot, you've got to be able to mark it within 2 seconds. If you miss it, let it go. If you catch it and the dog doesn't return to the cot on its own or the mat, put the dog back on it. It's called park it. The command to get on it in the first place is place. When you walk away, it's stay. And we walk away. Because I'm going to give you a little hint here. About 2 weeks from now, you can take your dog off that cot and just say stay. And in its brain, in that molecular memory parked up there, that procedural memory, your dog might as well be on a platform or a cot. It doesn't know how to do anything else. Pretty darn cool. Pretty slick too. Kind of helps you get where you're going a whole lot faster. All right, that's in review. Long line again. Let it pay out of your hand. Then take it back up when you come in. When we leave, stay, give me an open palm hand signal, and go. Go. Tomorrow we'll talk more about when you go. What do you do when you're out there? How do you build up to it? How do you get a dog that will hold this while the doorbell's ringing, company's coming in, all your worst nightmares? How do you get a dog to hold this place while all that's going on? How do you get out of sight? This thing's worthless to me unless I can get out of sight. Because now imagine I got company over and I have to go to the bathroom. I want to go get them a drink in the kitchen. Man, now all of a sudden if I haven't trained out of sight place, guess what I have to do? I have to go back, get the dog off, go with me, and then bring it back, put it back on place. That's junk. We don't want to do that. So a lot to cover tomorrow on the second part of place and stay. Any questions? You know where to reach me. Bryan with the Wild at tamingthewild.com. And again, as always, if you found this information beneficial, please share it to everyone out there. Tomorrow's day 44. Can't believe how fast time is flying. Until I see you guys again tomorrow, again, go gather your equipment. Be safe out there, everyone. Be patient. Be calm. And I'll see you tomorrow.